My grandmother left her entire estate to my cousin, who actually visited her, until the lawyer read the part about the hidden camera footage. The words hung in the conference room like a bomb. My cousin Bethany went pale. She'd spent 20 minutes gloating about the beach house, the investment portfolio, the jewelry, about how Grandma Rose loved her best because she drove 3 hours every Sunday while I couldn't be bothered. I'd sat there taking it, because what could I say? There's a codicil, the lawyer continued, added 2 weeks before Mrs. Patterson's passing. It includes video evidence. He turned his laptop around. The screen showed Grandma's bedroom. Bethany was rifling through the dresser, shoving jewelry into her purse. The timestamp read 3 months ago. Just taking what's mine early, she muttered. The old bat won't notice. The next clip showed Bethany arguing with Grandma about money. You owe me for showing up to this depressing place every week. My throat tightened. Bethany's mouth opened and closed. The cameras were installed after concerns from Mrs. Patterson's previous caregiver, the lawyer explained. Your grandmother reviewed months of footage before revising her will. He clicked to another clip. This one showed me, 6 months ago, late at night. I'd driven 4 hours after my hospital shift, letting myself in quietly. On screen, I checked on her sleeping form, refilled her water glass, and left fresh lemon cookies with a note. Then I left without waking her. She came every Tuesday. Grandma's voice played from another recording. She sat in her chair, speaking to the camera. My granddaughter works night shifts as an ER nurse. She never told anyone because she knew Bethany would call her a suck-up, but she came anyway. Fixed things I couldn't fix. Made sure I had real food. My eyes burned. I didn't know she'd known. Bethany visited for show, Grandma continued. Took pictures for social media, then stole from me. She took $43,000 worth of jewelry over 8 months. The lawyer cleared his throat. Mrs. Patterson left the entire estate to you. He slid a folder across the table. I opened it. The beach house, the stocks, the savings account with $1.2 million. What does she get? I whispered. The bills, restitution for the stolen jewelry, which your grandmother documented, plus legal fees. The amount owed is $67,000. Bethany shot up. This is insane. The footage has been submitted to the police. The lawyer interrupted. Pay restitution, or face criminal charges for elder abuse and theft. My hands shook. Grandma had documented everything. There's one more thing. The lawyer handed me a sealed envelope. She instructed me to give you this after the reading. I opened it. Inside was a letter and a key. My dear girl, by now you know the truth. I'm sorry I never told you I knew about your Tuesday visits. The key is to my safety deposit box. Inside you'll find something that explains why I handled things this way. Something about your parents. About the real reason your mother and Bethany's mother never spoke. The truth about our family that I've kept hidden for 40 years. The footage I have changes everything. I love you. I'm sorry for what you're about to discover. I stared at the key, my heart hammering. The lawyer checked his watch. The bank closes in an hour. I couldn't fit what happens next in this short video. Watch the rest down below. I grabbed my purse and ran. Behind me, Bethany was screaming something about lawyers and fraud, but her voice faded as I pushed through the glass doors into the parking lot. My hands trembled as I fumbled with my keys. 45 minutes until the bank closed. The law office was downtown, the bank 15 minutes away if traffic cooperated. It didn't. I sat at a red light, drumming my fingers on the steering wheel, watching the minutes tick by. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Bethany called. Says you stole Grandma's money. What's going on? I didn't respond. Couldn't. Not until I knew what was in that box. The light turned green. I pressed the accelerator harder than necessary, weaving through afternoon traffic. My mind raced faster than the car. What could Grandma have hidden for 40 years? What truth about Mom and her sister was so devastating it required decades of silence? I knew the basics. Mom and Aunt Patricia hadn't spoken since before I was born. Family gatherings were split down the middle. Thanksgiving with Mom's side. Christmas with no one because Aunt Patricia claimed those holidays. Birthdays celebrated separately. Weddings where one sister refused to attend if the other was invited. It's complicated, Mom always said when I asked. Ancient history, Dad would add, changing the subject. But Bethany and I had grown up together anyway. We'd been best friends as kids, before she turned into someone I barely recognized, before the Instagram posts and the designer clothes and the carefully curated life that looked perfect on the outside. The bank appeared ahead. I pulled into the lot with 8 minutes to spare. Inside, the air conditioning hit me like a wall. A woman at the front desk looked up from her computer. I need to access a safety deposit box, I said, trying to catch my breath. My grandmother just passed away and left me the key. She glanced at the clock. We close in 7 minutes. Please, it's urgent. Something in my voice must have convinced her. She nodded and led me to a small room in the back. The walls were lined with metal boxes, all numbered and locked. Box number? She asked. I looked at the key. 237. She used her master key and my key together, pulling out a long metal box. Take your time, she said, though her eyes flicked to the clock again. I'll give you 10 minutes. The door clicked shut behind her. I stared at the box. My reflection warped in the brushed steel. Whatever was inside had been important enough for Grandma to hide for 4 decades, important enough to mention in her final letter. I lifted the lid. On top was a manila envelope, thick with papers. Beneath it, 3 VHS tapes labeled with dates from 1984, a leather journal, the binding cracked with age, and a small jewelry box. I opened the envelope first. The papers inside were legal documents, birth certificates, marriage licenses, court records. I shuffled through them, my brain struggling to process what I was seeing. The first document was a birth certificate for Patricia Rose Sullivan, born March 15, 1962, my Aunt Patricia. Except the parents listed weren't Grandma Rose and Grandpa Frank. They were listed as Angela Sullivan and father unknown. Angela Sullivan, Grandma's sister who died in a car accident when I was a baby. I flipped to the next document, another birth certificate. This one for Caroline Marie Patterson, born June 8, 1965. My mother. Parents: Rose Patterson and Frank Patterson. They weren't sisters. Mom and Aunt Patricia weren't sisters at all. My hands shook as I grabbed the next document. Adoption papers dated December 1965. Rose and Frank Patterson adopting Patricia Rose Sullivan, age 3, after the death of her biological mother Angela Sullivan in a vehicle collision. I read it 3 times. The words didn't change. Aunt Patricia was adopted. Mom's cousin, not her sister. Raised together after Aunt Angela died. But why would that cause a 40-year rift? I dug deeper into the stack. Found a letter dated January 1984, written in Grandma's neat cursive. Frank has done something unforgivable. Patricia is pregnant and he's the father. My husband. My own husband. She's 22 years old and has called him dad her entire life. I've known for 3 months now and I don't know what to do. Caroline just announced she's pregnant too. Due in October. Patricia's baby is due in November. They could be born weeks apart, half siblings instead of cousins. The thought makes me physically ill. Frank begs me not to tell anyone. Says it was a mistake, that Patricia seduced him. But I've seen the way he looks at her. The way he's always looked at her ever since she hit puberty. I think that's why Angela drove off that bridge. I think she knew what Frank was. The letter fell from my hands. My grandfather. I pressed my palm against my mouth, fighting the urge to vomit. Grandpa Frank had been dead for 15 years, but suddenly I could see his face clearly, his smile at family dinners, the way he'd joke and laugh, the picture of him holding me as a baby, me and Bethany side by side in his arms. Bethany. Oh God, Bethany. I grabbed another document, a paternity test dated March 1985. It confirmed Frank Patterson as the biological father of Bethany Louise Carson, born November 12, 1984. I was born October 28, 1984. Bethany and I were born 2 weeks apart. We weren't cousins. We were half-sisters. And our grandfather was also Bethany's father. The room spun. I gripped the edge of the table, trying to breathe, trying to process. My family tree had just collapsed into something twisted and wrong. The journal. I needed to read the journal. I flipped it open. Grandma's handwriting covered every page, dated entries spanning from 1984 to 2024. I started reading, unable to stop, even as the words made everything worse. January 14, 1984. I confronted Frank today. He denied everything until I showed him the evidence. Patricia left her journal out and I read what he's been doing to her since she was 16. 6 years. 6 years of abuse and I never saw it. Or maybe I did see it and didn't want to believe. The signs were there. Her withdrawn behavior. The way she flinched when he touched her shoulder. How she stopped calling him dad and started avoiding family dinners. He cried and begged forgiveness. Said he'd get help. Said he loved me. But all I could think about was Patricia. Barely more than a child. And the baby growing inside her. Caroline's baby and Patricia's baby. Half siblings born to the same monster. January 28, 1984. Patricia wants to keep the baby. I begged her to consider adoption, to start fresh somewhere new, but she's adamant. Says this baby is hers, not Frank's. I can't tell Caroline. It would destroy her. She's so happy, planning the nursery, talking about how our grandchildren will grow up together. If she knew the truth. February 15th, 1984. I've made a decision. Patricia will raise her daughter as her own, and will tell everyone the father is someone she met at college who didn't want to be involved. A one-night stand. Caroline will never know. Frank has agreed to these terms. He'll have no relationship with Patricia's baby. He'll be grandpa to Caroline's child. Nothing more to Patricia's. March 3rd, 1984. Patricia and I had a terrible fight. She wants Frank to acknowledge the baby. To be a father to her, not just a grandfather playing pretend. I told her that was impossible. That Caroline and the baby she's carrying must be protected. Patricia called me a coward, said I was choosing Caroline over her, just like I always have. Maybe she's right, but what choice do I have? Tell Caroline her father molested his adopted daughter? That her child and Patricia's child share the same father? It would break her. April 17th, 1984. Frank moved out today. Temporary separation, we're telling people. Space to work on our marriage. The truth is, I can't look at him. Can't stand the sound of his voice. Caroline keeps asking what happened, why dad left. I tell her we're having some trouble but working through it. She doesn't need this stress while pregnant. I skipped ahead, looking for entries after we were born. November 15th, 1984. Patricia had her baby 3 days ago. A girl, Bethany. She won't let me see her. Won't let any of us near. She's living with a friend from college, refusing to come home. I drove to her apartment yesterday with baby clothes and supplies. She wouldn't open the door. November 20th, 1984. Caroline brought her baby to meet me today. My granddaughter. She's perfect. 10 little fingers, 10 little toes. Frank's eyes. God help me. She has Frank's eyes. Caroline named her after me. Rose as the middle name. I held her and cried. And Caroline thought they were happy tears. She has no idea her sister is somewhere across town with a half-sibling baby who shares her father's DNA. December 1st, 1984. Frank wants to come home for Christmas. Says enough time has passed. But how much time is enough after what he did? I agreed on one condition. He signs over half his assets to Patricia. Child support, I called it. Though we both know it's guilt money, blood money. He signed the papers. Patricia accepted. She still won't talk to me. January 10th, 1985. I saw Patricia at the grocery store today. She had Bethany with her, wrapped in a pink blanket. I tried to approach, to apologize, to fix this somehow. She looked right through me, pushed past with the stroller. I followed her to the parking lot, begging her to let me explain. She finally stopped, turned around, and the hate in her eyes. I've never seen anything like it. You chose her, she said. You chose Caroline and you let him get away with it. Don't ever speak to me again. Then she drove away. March 3rd, 1985. Caroline asked again today why Patricia won't visit anymore. Why Aunt Patricia, as she calls her, never answers the phone. I told her that Patricia is going through something difficult and needs space. Caroline suggested we all get together, bring the babies, let the cousins meet. I made an excuse. Another excuse. How many more can I make before she realizes I'm lying? The entries continued year after year. Grandma documenting the growing rift. Patricia refusing all contact. Caroline confused and hurt by her sister's rejection. Frank playing the role of devoted grandfather while paying secret child support that never appeared on any official records. September 1990. Caroline figured out today that Patricia gets money from Frank. She found bank statements in his office. Confronted him about an illegitimate child, asking if that's why Patricia disappeared. He denied everything, said it was a loan from years ago that he's still paying back. She believed him. Why wouldn't she? Her father is a monster, but she doesn't know that. She'll never know that. June 1995. Frank died today. Heart attack at 65. The funeral is Thursday. I called Patricia to tell her. She hung up without a word. Caroline is devastated. Keeps saying her father died without reconciling with his daughter. If only she knew he reconciled exactly as much as he deserved to. October 2000. The girls are 16 now. Caroline showed me photos from her daughter's birthday party. She looks so much like Frank, it hurts. Bethany does too, according to Patricia's Christmas cards. The only communication I get from her now. Yearly cards with no return address. 2 half-sisters growing up as cousins, neither knowing the truth. Sometimes I think about telling them. Then, I imagine the fallout, and I stay silent. I flipped forward to more recent entries. August 2023. I'm dying. Cancer, the doctors say. 6 months, maybe a year. I started installing cameras throughout the house. Not because I'm paranoid, but because I want documentation of everything. Who visits, who doesn't, who cares, who steals. I've watched Bethany take my jewelry for months now. Watched her put on a show for social media while robbing me blind. She's become just like Frank. Entitled, manipulative, thinking she deserves whatever she wants regardless of who it hurts. September 2023. Caroline's daughter came to visit last night. She doesn't know I know about her Tuesday visits. Doesn't know I stay up late reviewing the cameras, watching her fix my sink, replace light bulbs, leave food. She's a nurse now. Saves lives. Everything Bethany pretends to be. October 2023. I've decided. When I die, everything goes to Caroline's daughter. Let Bethany face consequences for once. Let her know what it's like to lose something. And I'm leaving documentation. Not just about the theft, about everything. The truth about Frank, about why Patricia and Caroline have been estranged for 40 years, about why Bethany and her cousin are actually half-sisters. It's time. I've kept this secret long enough. November 2023. I'm recording videos to explain everything. Every detail, every decision. The lawyer will show them after I'm gone, after the will is read. Caroline's daughter deserves to know why I chose her. Deserves to understand what kind of family she comes from. And Bethany. God help me. But Bethany needs to know she's the product of incest. That her father was also her grandfather. Maybe that knowledge will change her. Or maybe it will destroy her. Either way, the truth stops being my burden. The journal ended there. I sat in silence. The pages spread across the table. My phone buzzed. 10 minutes had passed. 15. The bank was closed now, but no one had knocked. I picked up the VHS tapes. Dates from 1984. Probably home videos. Evidence that Grandma couldn't bring herself to destroy. The jewelry box was last. I opened it slowly. Inside was a diamond ring, Grandpa Frank's wedding band, and a note in Grandma's handwriting. This belonged to a man who fooled everyone, including me. I want you to have it as a reminder. Evil doesn't always look like evil. Sometimes it looks like family. I closed the box and packed everything back into the safety deposit container. My hands moved on autopilot. Put papers in envelope, stacked tapes, close journal. My brain was somewhere else entirely, trying to reconstruct my entire family history around this new, horrible truth. A knock on the door made me jump. Miss Patterson? We really need to close up. Coming, I managed. I gathered everything into my purse. The envelope wouldn't fit, so I carried it under my arm, walked through the bank in a daze. The employee who'd helped me watched with concern but didn't ask questions. Outside, the parking lot was mostly empty. The sun sat low on the horizon, painting everything orange and gold. Beautiful, like nothing had changed. Like the world hadn't just tilted on its axis. My phone rang. Mom. I stared at her name on the screen. My mother, who'd grown up with a molested adopted sister. Who'd had a baby not knowing her sister was having her father's child at the same time. Who'd spent 40 years confused about why Aunt Patricia wouldn't speak to her. Should I tell her? Could I tell her? The phone stopped ringing, went to voicemail. Immediately started ringing again. I answered. Where have you been? Mom's voice was sharp with worry. Bethany showed up at the house screaming about Grandma's will, about police and theft charges. She says you inherited everything, that Grandma left videos accusing her of stealing. Please tell me what's happening. I'm at the bank, I said. My voice sounded distant, not quite mine. I just opened Grandma's safety deposit box. And? Did she leave something else? More money? I don't understand why she would cut Bethany out completely. They were so close. They weren't. The words came out harder than I intended. Bethany was stealing from her. Thousands of dollars in jewelry. Grandma had cameras and documented everything. Silence on the other end. But more importantly, I continued, gripping the steering wheel with my free hand, I found out why you and Aunt Patricia stopped speaking. Sweetheart, that's between me and your aunt. It doesn't concern— Did you know she's not actually your sister? The silence stretched longer this time. When Mom spoke again, her voice shook. What? Aunt Patricia. She was your cousin. Grandma adopted her after her real mother died. It's all documented. Birth certificates, adoption papers, everything. No, that's not possible. We grew up together. She was my sister. She was your adopted cousin, I corrected. And there's more. Mom, you should sit down for this. I'm already sitting. Tell me. I took a breath. Let it out. There was no good way to say this. Grandpa Frank got her pregnant. That's why she disappeared. That's why she stopped talking to the family. Bethany isn't your niece. She's your half-sister. The line went dead. I looked at the phone. Call ended. I tried calling back. It rang and rang, then voicemail. Tried again. Same thing. A text came through instead. Don't call me right now. I need to process this. Don't tell anyone else. Please. I dropped the phone in my lap and pressed my forehead against the steering wheel. The leather was cool against my skin. My heart hammered so hard I could feel it in my throat. What had I just done? 40 years of carefully maintained lies, unraveled in a single phone conversation. Grandma's secret, unleashed. The truth bomb she'd left behind, detonated. Another text, this one from an unknown number. This is Aunt Patricia. Your mother just called me for the first time in 40 years. What did you tell her? I stared at the message. My aunt, my actual aunt, I guess, since we weren't blood related through Grandma, had never contacted me before. Never acknowledged my existence beyond those Christmas cards Grandma mentioned. My phone rang. The unknown number. I answered. Did Rose tell you? A woman's voice, rough with emotion. Did my mother finally tell the truth? Grandma left documentation in her safety deposit box. Birth certificates, journal entries, everything. A sound like a sob or a laugh, I couldn't tell which. She's been dead 3 weeks and she's still controlling the narrative, still deciding when and how the truth comes out. I'm sorry, I said, because what else could I say? Don't be sorry. Be angry. Be furious that 3 generations of women have been poisoned by one man's actions and one woman's silence. She was trying to protect my mom. She was trying to protect herself. Aunt Patricia's voice cracked. She was trying to avoid the embarrassment, the shame. Easier to make me disappear than to confront what Frank did. Easier to let Caroline think I was the bad guy than to admit her precious husband was a child molester. I had no response to that. You're going to tell Bethany, Aunt Patricia continued. It wasn't a question. I don't know. Grandma wanted the truth out, but you're afraid of destroying her, of what it will do to her self-image to know she's the product of incest, that her grandfather is also her father. The words hung in the air between us. Bethany already knows something's wrong with her, Aunt Patricia said quietly. She's spent her whole life trying to fill a hole inside herself with things, with attention, with validation. Do you know why? Because I could never love her the way a mother should. Every time I looked at her, I saw Frank, saw what he did to me. I've spent 39 years trying to be a good mother to a child who's a walking reminder of the worst thing that ever happened to me. My throat tightened. That's not her fault. I know that. Intellectually, I know that. But knowing doesn't make it easier, doesn't make me love her more. And she's felt that her entire life. The absence of something she couldn't name. So she performs, posts perfect photos and collects expensive things and steals from dying old women because maybe if she has enough, does enough, she'll finally feel whole. She needs therapy, not devastating family secrets. She needs the truth, Aunt Patricia corrected. The same truth I needed 40 years ago when everyone around me decided silence was kinder. Silence isn't kindness, it's cowardice. The line went dead. I sat there until the parking lot lights flickered on, harsh fluorescent brightness against the darkening sky. Then I drove home on autopilot, my brain spinning in circles. Tell Bethany. Don't tell Bethany. Tell Mom everything. Keep some things back. Honor Grandma's wishes. Protect people from information that would destroy them. What was the right answer? My apartment was dark when I arrived. I dumped everything on the kitchen table and stared at it. The envelope, the journal, the tapes, the ring. 40 years of secrets in a pile of paper and plastic. I made tea I didn't drink, paced the apartment, read through the journal again, looking for some clarity that wasn't there. At midnight, my phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Come over tomorrow. Bring everything. We need to talk. Then another text. This one from Bethany. The police called. They want me to come in for questioning about the theft charges. You did this. You destroyed my relationship with Grandma and now you're destroying my life. I hope you're happy. I wasn't happy. I was exhausted and confused and drowning in information I didn't want. But I texted back anyway. We need to talk. In person. There's something you need to know about Grandma and why she changed the will. Something bigger than the jewelry. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. I'm not interested in your excuses. This isn't about excuses. It's about your father. The dot stopped. A minute passed. Then, what about him? Not over text. Meet me tomorrow. 2 p.m. The coffee shop on Oak Street. Fine. But this better not be a waste of my time. I set the phone down and crawled into bed fully clothed, stared at the ceiling, thought about half-sisters and grandfather-fathers and women who kept terrible secrets to protect people who didn't want protecting. Thought about Grandma Rose, dying alone in a house full of cameras, planning her revenge against a granddaughter who looked too much like Frank, planning to unload 40 years of guilt onto me. Thanks, Grandma. Sleep didn't come until nearly dawn. I met with Mom first. She answered the door looking like she hadn't slept either, gray hair unbrushed, still in the same clothes from yesterday. Dad hovered behind her, worry etched into every line of his face. Show me, Mom said without preamble. I spread everything across the dining room table. Birth certificates here, adoption papers there, the journal in the middle, Grandma's letter on top. Mom read in silence, her lips pressed into a thin line. Dad read over her shoulder, his expression shifting from confusion to horror to fury. That son of a bitch, Dad whispered when he got to the part about Grandpa Frank. I always thought there was something off about him, the way he'd look at teenage girls. But I never imagined, don't. Mom's voice was sharp. Don't pretend you knew. Nobody knew. Nobody wanted to know. She picked up the journal, flipped through pages at random, stopped on an entry from 1989. Caroline asked me today if I thought Patricia would ever forgive her. Mom read aloud. Forgive her for what? For being Frank's legitimate daughter? For being loved while Patricia was violated? I don't know how to tell her there's nothing to forgive, that this was never about her. Mom's hands shook. She set the journal down carefully, like it might explode. She spent 40 years thinking I'd done something wrong, Mom said, thinking she'd hurt Patricia somehow. I sent letters, called, showed up at her apartment. She'd never answer, never explain. I thought maybe it was jealousy, that Mom loved me more or Dad paid more attention to me. I blamed myself for decades. It wasn't your fault, I said. I know that. Intellectually, I know that. But feelings don't care about logic. She looked at me, eyes red. Does Patricia know you found all this? She called me yesterday, right after I told you. What did she say? That Grandma chose silence over truth, that 3 generations were poisoned by one man's actions. Mom flinched. She's not wrong. Are you going to talk to her? Dad asked quietly. I don't know. What would I even say? Sorry our father raped you and I had no idea. Sorry I got the good childhood while yours was a nightmare. Sorry my daughter exists while yours is a living reminder of trauma. Bethany isn't just trauma, I said. She's a person. A person who steals from dying women and posts their suffering on social media for likes. Mom's voice was bitter. A person who's about to find out her entire identity is a lie. You can't tell her, Dad said suddenly. Both of us turned to look at him. I'm serious. This information would destroy her. Some truths are too devastating. That's what Grandma thought, I said. Look how well that worked out. Your grandmother made impossible choices in an impossible situation, Dad argued. She was trying to protect Caroline from trauma, trying to give Bethany a normal life. Maybe she was wrong, but her intentions were selfish, I interrupted. She wanted to avoid confronting what Grandpa Frank did, wanted to maintain the image of a perfect family, so she sacrificed Patricia. Let her take all the pain and blame while everyone else got to live in ignorance. That's not fair, Mom said. None of this is fair, but we get to choose what happens next. Keep lying and watch Bethany spiral, or tell the truth and let her finally understand why things have always felt wrong. We sat in silence. The kitchen clock ticked loudly. I need to talk to Patricia first, Mom finally said. Before we tell Bethany anything, I need to hear her side, her truth, not just Mom's version from 40 years of diary entries. Okay, I agreed. But I'm meeting Bethany at 2 p.m. today. She's expecting answers about the will. What are you going to tell her? I don't know yet. Maybe just about the theft charges. Maybe everything. Depends on the conversation. Mom nodded slowly, picked up her phone, stared at it like it was a foreign object. I have her number, she said. Patricia's number. Mom gave it to me years ago in case of emergencies. I never used it. Maybe now's the time, Dad suggested gently. Mom's finger hovered over the screen. Then she pressed dial and lifted the phone to her ear. We waited. Patricia? Mom's voice cracked on the name. It's Caroline. Can we talk? I know it's been a long time, but I found out about Dad, about what he did, about Bethany. Please don't hang up. A pause. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Okay, yes, tomorrow. I can come to you. Just tell me where. Another pause. I'm so sorry I didn't know. That I couldn't protect you, that you've carried this alone for 40 years. Mom hung up and immediately started sobbing, deep, gasping sobs that shook her whole body. Dad wrapped his arms around her and she buried her face in his chest. I looked away, giving them privacy, checked the time, noon. 2 hours until I had to face Bethany. 2 hours to decide if I was brave enough to tell the truth. The coffee shop was crowded. College students with laptops, remote workers in business casual, a book club in the corner, arguing cheerfully about plot holes. Normal people living normal lives. Bethany sat at a corner table, arms crossed. She'd dressed up for this. Full makeup, designer jeans, the Gucci bag I'd seen her steal from Grandma's house in one of the security videos. I slid into the seat across from her with just a black coffee. Couldn't stomach food. This better be good, Bethany said. I have a meeting with my lawyer at 4. About the theft charges? Her jaw tightened. Those charges are bullshit. Grandma gave me that jewelry. Gave it to me because I actually cared about her while you were too busy with your precious hospital shifts to visit. I visited every Tuesday for 2 years, I said calmly, after my night shifts. Grandma knew. She had cameras, Bethany. She documented everything. Oh, so you're spying on family now? That's low, even for you. The cameras weren't my idea. They were Grandma's. She installed them after items started going missing, after her caregiver raised concerns. Bethany's cheeks flushed. I don't have to listen to this. No, you don't. You can leave right now and face the criminal charges without context. Or you can sit there for 15 minutes and let me explain why Grandma did what she did. She stayed seated. Barely. I pulled out my phone and opened the photos I'd taken of the birth certificates. Slid the phone across the table. What am I looking at? Bethany asked. Birth certificates. Yours? Mine? Your mom's? She glanced at the screen, then froze. Her eyes darted across the information, reading, rereading. This says my grandmother is Angela Sullivan, not Rose Patterson. Correct. That's wrong. Obviously these are fake or they're real. Your mom was adopted by Grandma Rose after her biological mother died, making your mom and my mom cousins, not sisters, making us cousins, not second cousins. Bethany stared at the screen. Her finger swiped to the next image. The adoption papers. Why would Grandma keep this secret? She asked quietly. This was it. The moment. Tell her everything or protect her from the worst of it. There's more, I said. About why your mom and mine stopped speaking. About who your father is. I know who my father is. Richard Carson. He left when I was 2. That's who your birth certificate says. But it's not the truth. Bethany looked up at me. Really looked. Maybe for the first time in years. What are you saying? I'm saying Grandma left documentation. Journal entries, videos, letters, all explaining what really happened in 1984, what really caused the rift in our family. Just tell me. I pulled up the photo of Grandpa Frank's paternity test. Pushed the phone back to her. Bethany read in silence. Her face went pale, then green. This is fake, she whispered. This This has to be fake. Grandpa Frank he couldn't be my father. Yes. Grandma documented everything. Your mom was his adopted daughter. He started abusing her when she was 16, got her pregnant when she was 22. That's why she left. That's why she never spoke to my mom again. No. Bethany shook her head violently. No, you're lying. You're making this up to hurt me because you're jealous. I'm not jealous of you, Bethany. I'm trying to give you the truth Grandma kept hidden for 40 years. Shut up. Her voice rose. People at nearby tables glanced over. You don't know what you're talking about. Grandpa Frank loved me. He was the only one who... She stopped. Her expression shifted from denial to realization to horror. He used to visit, she said slowly. When I was little, he'd bring gifts, expensive toys, call me his special girl. Mom would get so angry. She'd scream at him to leave, to never come back. I thought she was just being mean. I said nothing. Let her work through it. She was protecting me, Bethany continued. From him, because he was my father, my actual father. And she knew, oh God, she knew what he was capable of. Tears streamed down her face, destroying the careful makeup. She didn't seem to notice. That's why she's always been so cold. Why I never felt. Her breath hitched. I'm not her daughter. Not really. I'm her reminder. Her walking, talking reminder of what he did. You are her daughter, I said firmly. What happened to her wasn't your fault. What Grandpa Frank did wasn't your fault. You're not responsible for any of this. Then why am I the one being punished? Her voice broke. Why did Grandma cut me out? Why did she leave everything to you? If none of this is my fault, why do I get nothing? I thought about the videos. About months of footage showing Bethany stealing, manipulating, performing for social media while Grandma suffered. The inheritance decision wasn't about your birth. It was about your choices. Grandma documented you stealing $43,000 in jewelry, recorded you being verbally abusive when she couldn't give you more money. She saw the real you, Bethany, not the Instagram version, the person behind the performance. So, I'm being punished for stealing from the woman who kept me in the dark about my own existence? That's rich. You're facing consequences for elder abuse and theft. The truth about Grandpa Frank is separate. That's family history you deserve to know, but Grandma kept hidden to protect my mom. Bethany laughed bitterly. Protect Caroline. Always protect perfect Caroline and her perfect daughter. Nobody ever protected me. Nobody ever chose me. Not even my own mother. Your mom spent 40 years being punished for Grandpa Frank's crimes. She was cut off from her family, blamed for something she had no control over. She raised you alone while carrying that trauma. Maybe she couldn't be the mother you needed, but she tried. Don't defend her to me, Bethany snapped. You have no idea what my childhood was like, what it's like to have a mother who flinches when you hug her, who looks at you like you're something disgusting, who tells you you're pretty but sounds like she's lying. I've spent my whole life trying to earn love from someone incapable of giving it. She stood abruptly, grabbing her purse, the Gucci bag that wasn't really hers. You want to know why I stole from Grandma? Because she had everything and I had nothing. Because she loved you effortlessly while barely tolerating me. Because I was so desperate for something, anything, that felt like mine. Bethany, I'm done with this conversation, with this family, with all of you. She walked out. I sat alone at the table, my coffee cold, watching through the window as she got into her car and drove away too fast. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. I'm meeting Patricia tomorrow at 11 a.m. Can you come with me? I texted back, yes. Then I gathered my things and drove home in silence, thinking about the wreckage Grandpa Frank had left behind, about how one man's actions had poisoned 3 generations, about how truth was supposed to set you free, but sometimes it just made you angrier at all the years wasted on lies. The next morning, I picked up Mom at 9 a.m. We had 2 hours to drive to Patricia's house, which she'd bought 15 years ago on the other side of the state, far enough away that accidental encounters were impossible. Mom was quiet the whole drive. She'd printed out some of Grandma's journal entries and kept reading them, lips moving silently. Did you know, she finally said, that Mom wrote about wishing I'd never asked about Patricia, that my questions made her feel guilty, and she resented me for it? She was human, I offered. Humans are complicated. She was a coward. She watched her own daughter, her adopted daughter, be abused by her husband and chose to protect the lie over protecting Patricia. That's not complicated. That's cowardly. I couldn't argue with that. Patricia's house was a small ranch in a quiet neighborhood. Kids' bikes on lawns, a basketball hoop in the driveway next door. Normal, suburban life. We sat in the car for a moment. You ready? I asked. No, but let's do this anyway. The door opened before we reached it. Patricia stood in the frame, older than the photos I'd seen, but unmistakably my mom's half-sister. Same cheekbones, same green eyes, same nose. Caroline, she said softly. Patricia. Mom's voice shook. They stared at each other. 40 years of silence between them, heavy and suffocating. Then Mom said, I'm so sorry. And Patricia started crying. They stood there on the porch, both sobbing, neither moving to embrace, like they'd forgotten how. Come in, Patricia finally managed. Please. The house was tidy but sparse. Minimal furniture, no family photos on the walls, like someone who'd learned not to get attached to anything. We sat in the living room. Patricia brought coffee nobody drank. I got your call, Patricia said, looking at me. The one where you told Caroline about Rose's safety deposit box. Thank you for that. For finally making the truth impossible to ignore. I didn't do it to make you feel better, I admitted. Grandma left instructions. She wanted everything revealed after she died. Of course she did. One last manipulation. One last chance to control the narrative. Patricia's smile was bitter. Even dead, Rose gets to play puppet master. Gets to decide when and how the truth comes out. Gets to frame herself as the woman who made impossible choices in an impossible situation. That's not fair, Mom said quietly. She was trying to protect me. She was trying to protect herself, Patricia's voice cracked. Don't you see that? She knew what Frank was doing and stayed silent because admitting it would destroy her perfect life, her perfect marriage, her perfect family. She was scared. I was scared. I was 16 years old and my father, the man who raised me, started coming into my room at night, started touching me, started telling me I was special, that he loved me differently than he loved you. And when I told Rose, you know what she did? She called me a liar, said I was jealous of you, said I was trying to destroy the family. Mom's face went white. She didn't tell me that. In the journal, she said, the journal is 40 years of justification and lies. It's Rose rewriting history to make herself the tragic hero instead of the enabler. Patricia stood, pacing. She didn't confront Frank until I was pregnant, until hiding the truth became impossible. And even then, her first priority was protecting you, protecting your pregnancy, protecting your image of your father. I was pregnant, Mom whispered. I was carrying a baby. Learning my father was a rapist would have been the truth, Patricia shouted. The truth you deserved. The truth that might have saved us both from 40 years of silence and pain and wondering what the hell we did wrong. Silence fell, heavy and absolute. You're right, Mom finally said. You're absolutely right. I should have known, should have been told, should have had the chance to choose what to do with that information instead of having it hidden from me like I was too fragile to handle reality. Patricia sat back down, suddenly deflated. I'm not angry at you, Caroline. I never was. I was angry at Rose and Frank and a system that protected men like him, a family structure that made women into property to be managed and controlled. But I took it out on you because you were the only target I had. Tell me what happened, Mom said. Not Rose's version, yours. So Patricia did. She talked for an hour. About Frank starting to look at her differently when she was 14. About inappropriate comments disguised as jokes. About touches that lasted too long. About the night he first came to her room when Rose was visiting her sister for the weekend. About telling Grandma Rose and being called a liar. About the abuse escalating when she realized no one would believe her. About getting pregnant at 22 and just knowing, that the baby would be visible evidence of what Frank had done. About wanting an abortion but Rose begging her not to. Promising to help raise the baby. Promising support and love and family. Then immediately retracting all of it once Bethany was born, terrified that having the baby around would make Caroline ask questions. She gave me money, Patricia said. Frank's money, blood money, guilt money. Enough that I could live comfortably and stay away. And I took it because what choice did I have? I was 22 with a baby and no family and no support system. I would have supported you, Mom said, if I'd known, but you didn't know. And Rose made sure you never would. She paid for my silence with Frank's money and her own guilt. And I let her because I was young and scared and broken. Patricia looked at me. Your grandmother left you everything because she spent her final months reviewing camera footage, watching Bethany steal, watching her granddaughter turn into exactly what Frank was, someone who takes what they want without caring who it hurts. And Rose couldn't face that. Couldn't accept that maybe Bethany turned out that way because she was raised by a traumatized mother who couldn't love her properly. Because the cycle of abuse doesn't end with the abuser. It echoes through generations. Bethany knows now, I said. I told her yesterday. About Grandpa Frank. About the paternity test. Patricia went very still. How did she take it? Badly. She walked out. Said she was done with the family. Good. She should be done with us. We've done nothing but damage each other for 40 years. Maybe she'll break the cycle by leaving entirely. Or maybe, Mom said carefully, we could break the cycle by actually dealing with the trauma instead of running from it. By getting therapy. By talking instead of hiding. By choosing honesty even when it's painful. Patricia laughed, but there was no humor in it. You think therapy fixes incest? Fixes the fact that my daughter is also my half-sister to your daughter? That Frank's DNA runs through all of us like a poison? I think therapy might help us figure out how to live with it, Mom replied. How to move forward instead of staying frozen in 1984. I've been in therapy for 30 years, Caroline. It doesn't fix anything. It just teaches you how to function despite the brokenness. We sat in silence again. I thought about Bethany, driving too fast out of that parking lot. About how she'd spent her whole life trying to earn love from a mother incapable of giving it. About how knowing the truth might destroy her or free her or some terrible combination of both. I should talk to her, Patricia said suddenly. Bethany, I should explain. Answer questions. Be honest for once in her life. She might not want to hear it, I warned. She deserves the chance to decide that herself, just like I deserved the chance 40 years ago. Patricia stood. Do you have her number? I did. I sent it to her phone. Patricia looked at it for a long moment. Then she typed out a message and showed it to us. I know you found out about your father, about Frank, about what he did to me. I'm sorry you learned this way. I'm sorry for a lot of things. If you want to talk, I'm here. For the first time in your life, I'm actually here. She hit send. We waited. 1 minute, 2, 5. Then 3 dots appeared. Why now? Bethany's reply read, why care after 29 years of nothing? Patricia typed, because I was a coward. Because facing you meant facing what happened to me. Because I blamed you for something that wasn't your fault. And I didn't know how to fix it. Because your grandmother's death forced everything into the open and I can't hide anymore. Pick any reason. They're all true. More dots. I'm so angry at you, at Grandma, at all of you. You have every right to be angry. I would be too. I was too. Did you ever love me? Even a little? Patricia's hands shook. She stared at the screen, tears rolling down her cheeks. Answer honestly, Mom said softly. She deserves that. Patricia typed slowly. I tried to. I wanted to. But every time I looked at you, I saw him, saw what he did. And it broke me, made me incapable of being the mother you needed. That's not your fault. That's mine. Mine and Frank's and Rose's. But mostly mine. I'm sorry doesn't begin to cover it, but I'm sorry anyway. This time the dots took longer. Can we meet? I have questions. So many questions. Yes, anytime, anywhere. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., the coffee shop on Oak Street. Patricia looked at me. That's where you met her yesterday? Yeah. She's giving me the same chance she gave you. One conversation to explain everything. Patricia set her phone down. I don't deserve it. None of us deserve anything, Mom said. But maybe we can earn something better going forward. We stayed another hour, talking, crying, beginning the impossible work of rebuilding something from the ruins of 40 years. When we left, Mom hugged Patricia for the first time in 4 decades. I'm sorry, Mom whispered. I'm sorry you went through that alone. I'm sorry I didn't know. I'm sorry Dad was a monster and Mom was a coward and you paid the price for both. I'm sorry too, Patricia whispered back, for shutting you out, for blaming you, for letting Frank's actions destroy us. They held each other on that porch, 2 women trying to stitch together a relationship that had been torn apart before it had a chance to grow. On the drive home, Mom was quiet again, but this time the silence felt different, less heavy, more contemplative. Do you think we can fix this? She finally asked. Really fix it? Or are we just pretending broken things can be made whole? I think broken things can be made into something new, I said. Not the same as they were, not perfect, but functional, maybe even beautiful in a different way. That's very optimistic for someone who just discovered her grandfather was a pedophile and her cousin is actually her half-aunt. I laughed despite everything. I work in an ER. You learn to find silver linings in trauma or you burn out. What's the silver lining here? Grandma left me $1.2 million and a beach house. Bethany's facing consequences for her actions. The family secrets are finally out. Patricia and you are talking again. Bethany might get actual answers about why her childhood was so painful. That's not nothing. It's also not everything. No, I agreed, but it's a start. The next day, I drove Patricia to the coffee shop. She insisted I come with her, for moral support or witnesses, or maybe just so she wouldn't lose her nerve and turn around. Bethany was already there. Same table as before. No designer bag this time. Hair in a messy ponytail. Face scrubbed clean of makeup. She looked young, vulnerable, scared. Patricia sat down across from her. I took a table nearby, close enough to help if needed, but far enough to give them privacy. Hi, Patricia said. Hi, Bethany replied. They stared at each other. Mother and daughter, victim and reminder. 2 people who'd never had a real conversation. Just 29 years of performance and avoidance. I don't know where to start, Patricia admitted. Start with why you had me. If Frank raped you, and God, saying that out loud is insane. Why didn't you have an abortion? I wanted to. Rose begged me not to. Promised to help raise you. Promised we'd be a family. Then you were born and she panicked. Realized having you around meant Caroline might ask questions. So she paid me to leave. And you took the money. I took the money. Because I was 22 and alone and terrified and didn't know what else to do. Bethany's jaw clenched. You could have gotten therapy. You could have worked through your trauma and learned to be a mother. I did get therapy. Years of it. It helped me function, but it didn't make me capable of loving you the way you deserved. Because every time I looked at you, you saw him. Yeah, I got that part yesterday. Bethany's voice was sharp. So, my entire childhood was shit because I have the wrong face. Your childhood was shit because I failed you. Because 3 adults made terrible decisions and you paid the price. That's on us, not you. That doesn't make it hurt less. I know it doesn't. They sat in silence. I pretended to look at my phone while actually watching them closely, ready to intervene if this went sideways. Did you ever want me? Bethany asked quietly. Even for a moment? Was there ever a time when you looked at me and felt love instead of trauma? Patricia's face crumpled. When you were born, for about 30 seconds. Before the nurse put you in my arms and you opened your eyes, Frank's eyes, and I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All I could see was him. Bethany flinched. But, Patricia continued, there were other moments. Small ones. When you were 3 and learned to bake cookies. When you were 7 and brought home a picture you'd drawn of us. When you were 12 and stood up to a bully at school. In those moments, I saw you. Not him. You. And I felt something that might have been love if I'd been capable of it. That's not enough. I know it's not enough. Nothing I say will ever be enough. Then why are we here? Bethany's voice broke. Why sit across from me and admit you couldn't love me? What's the point? Because you deserve answers. Real answers. Not the lies Rose told or the performance I put on. You deserve to know that you weren't the problem. That my failure as a mother had nothing to do with who you are, and everything to do with what was done to me. I still grew up unloved. Yes, and that's unforgivable. But maybe understanding why will help you move forward. Move forward to what? I'm about to be charged with theft. I'm broke. I have no family, no inheritance, no future. Understanding why my mother couldn't love me doesn't fix any of that. No, Patricia agreed. But it might help you understand why you made the choices you did. Why you stole. Why you performed. Why you were so desperate for validation that you'd do anything to get it. Bethany was quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was small. I thought if I could just be perfect enough, you'd love me. If I was pretty enough, successful enough, popular enough, maybe you'd look at me with pride instead of pain. So I tried. God, I tried so hard. And it was never enough. It was never about you being enough. You were always enough. I just wasn't. More silence. I don't forgive you, Bethany said. I don't know if I ever will, but I'm glad you told me the truth. That's more than I deserve. Bethany stood, started to leave, then turned back. For what it's worth, I'm sorry about what Frank did. No one deserves that. Not even my shitty mother who couldn't love me. Patricia laughed through tears. Fair enough. Bethany walked out. Patricia sat alone at the table, crying openly now. I moved to her side. That went better than I expected, I offered. She didn't throw her coffee at me. That's something. She listened. She engaged. She acknowledged what happened to you. And she still doesn't forgive me. Probably never will. Would you forgive you if you were her? Patricia thought about that. No, No, I don't think I would. We left the coffee shop together, drove back to her house. Mom was waiting there, nervous. How did it go? She asked. About as well as a conversation about incest and generational trauma can go, Patricia replied. Which is to say, terribly, but honestly. Will you talk to her again? If she wants to. I gave her my number. What she does with it is up to her. Mom nodded. I called my therapist today. Made an appointment for next week. I was thinking, if you're open to it, maybe we could do some joint sessions. Process this together. Figure out how to be sisters again. Adopted sister and biological daughter of the man who raped me, Patricia corrected. Let's not pretend this is a normal sibling relationship. Nothing about our family is normal, but that doesn't mean we can't try. Patricia sighed. Fine, joint therapy. But I'm not promising miracles. I'm not asking for miracles. Just honesty. Haven't we had enough honesty for 1 week? Not even close, Mom said. We're just getting started. 3 weeks later, I got a call from the police. Bethany had agreed to pay restitution in full. The criminal charges would be dropped once payment cleared. She'd sold her car, jewelry, designer clothes, everything that could be liquidated. She also wanted me to tell you something, the officer said. Said to tell you she's moving, leaving the state, starting over somewhere no one knows her family history. Did she say where? Colorado. Said she's always wanted to learn to ski. I hung up and stared at my phone. Bethany was leaving, running away from the truth she'd fought so hard to get. Maybe that was healthier than staying. Maybe distance would give her perspective. Maybe she'd find herself somewhere in the mountains, far away from family trauma and fathers and mothers who couldn't love her. Or maybe she'd just run until she couldn't run anymore. Until the past caught up no matter how far she traveled. I called Mom. Bethany's leaving town, moving to Colorado. Patricia will want to know. They've been texting. Not often, but it's something. How's therapy going? Painful. Eye-opening. Necessary. We spent the last session talking about Frank. About warning signs we both missed. About how systems protect predators and punish victims. Heavy topics. Everything about this situation is heavy, but at least we're facing it instead of hiding. Do you think Bethany should stay? Try to work through this with the family? I think Bethany needs to do what's best for her. If that's leaving, then that's valid. Sometimes the healthiest thing is to cut ties completely. Even with Patricia, now that they're finally talking, especially with Patricia, that relationship is toxic, built on trauma. Maybe Bethany needs space from all of us to figure out who she is without the weight of family history crushing her. I thought about that. About how sometimes love means letting go. About how staying connected to family isn't always the right choice, especially when that family is poisoned by secrets and abuse. I'm going to transfer some money to her, I said. From the inheritance. Not a lot, but enough to help her get started in Colorado. Grandma wouldn't approve. Grandma's dead, and honestly, I don't care what she would approve. This isn't about her anymore. It's about trying to do right by someone who's been wronged by every adult in her life. Mom was quiet for a moment. You're a good person, better than any of us deserve. I'm an ER nurse. I fix broken things. Even when they're not fixable, I try. Bethany's not a broken bone you can set. No, but she's still worth trying for. I transferred $50,000 to Bethany's account that night. Added a note. This isn't forgiveness. This isn't permission. This is acknowledgement that you got dealt a shitty hand through no fault of your own. Use it to build something better. You deserve that much. She replied 3 days later. I don't deserve your charity, but I'm taking it anyway because I'm practical and broke and tired of pretending pride matters more than survival. Thank you. Maybe someday I'll pay you back. Maybe not. Either way, I'm done with this family. Moving to Denver next week. Don't look for me. I didn't respond. What was there to say? Sometimes the ending isn't neat. Sometimes people don't reconcile. Sometimes broken things stay broken, and the best you can do is build something new from the pieces. 6 months later, I sold Grandma's beach house. Used half the money to set up a foundation for victims of familial sexual abuse. Named it the Rose Patterson Foundation for Complicated Truths. Because even in death, Grandma couldn't escape irony. Patricia helped me organize it. Mom managed the paperwork. We met weekly to discuss applications, review grants, plan fundraising events. Slowly, carefully, we built something good from something terrible. Bethany sent one email 3 months after moving. Saw the foundation online. Nice touch with the name. Grandma would hate that her legacy is helping people speak out about the things she spent 40 years hiding. Attached is my donation. It's not much, but it's something. Also, I started therapy. Turns out unpacking generational trauma takes more than a good ski instructor and mountain air. Who knew? B. The donation was $5,000. More than I expected. I emailed back. Therapy's a good start. Proud of you for taking that step. The skiing probably helps too. Mountains have a way of putting things in perspective. Thank you for the donation. It'll help someone. R. She didn't reply. But she donated again 3 months later. And again, 3 months after that. Small connections. Thin threads. Not reconciliation exactly, but not total estrangement either. It was something. Patricia and Mom made progress too. Weekly therapy sessions became bi-weekly coffee meetups. They'd sit together and talk about safe topics. The weather, politics, books they were reading, carefully avoiding anything too heavy. Then one day, Mom brought up memories from childhood. Good ones. Playing in the backyard, building blanket forts, staying up late to watch meteor showers. Patricia added her own memories. Swimming in the creek, catching fireflies, learning to ride bikes. They cried, laughed, grieved the relationship they could have had if Frank hadn't destroyed everything. We can't get that back, Mom said. The innocent childhood relationship. The sister bond that should have been. No, Patricia agreed. But maybe we can build something new. Something honest. Not as good as it could have been, but better than nothing. Better than 40 years of silence. Much better than that. Dad watched all of this from the sidelines. Supportive but uncertain. He'd known Frank as his father-in-law. The jovial old man who told jokes at Christmas and slipped him whiskey when Mom wasn't looking. Learning the truth had shattered his perception of reality. How did I not know? He asked me one night over dinner. How did I spend 20 years around that man and never suspect? Because predators are good at hiding, I said. Because they charm and manipulate and make you doubt your own instincts. Because the system is designed to protect them. I should have protected her. Patricia, I should have seen something. You didn't know to look. That's what makes people like Frank so dangerous. They hide in plain sight. He shook his head. I can't stop thinking about all those family dinners, all those holidays, laughing with a man who, stop, you can't rewrite the past, can't undo what you didn't know. All you can do is move forward with the truth and do better now. Is that what you tell yourself? About Grandma? About all the Tuesday visits while she sat on this enormous secret? Grandma did what she thought was right. It wasn't right, but she thought it was. That's the complicated truth we're all living with. I liked it better when things were simple. Things were never simple. We just didn't know how complicated they were. A year after the will reading, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, Colorado postmark. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a check. The letter read, I've been thinking a lot about families and what we owe each other, about forgiveness and justice and whether they can coexist. I don't have answers, but I'm working on it. Therapy helps. So does distance. So does building a life that's mine, untainted by Patterson family drama. I paid back the $50,000 you gave me, plus interest. Not because I don't appreciate the gesture, but because I need to know I can make it on my own, without family money, without inheritance, without the security blanket of other people's guilt. I'm not ready to reconnect. Maybe I never will be, but I wanted you to know I'm okay. I'm building something here, something clean and mine and completely separate from everything that came before. The foundation is good work. Keep doing that. Keep helping people. You're better at being a Patterson than any of us deserve. Bethany. The check was for $52,000. She'd added 4% interest calculated to the day. I stared at it for a long time. Then I deposited the check and donated it all back to the foundation. Attached a note to the donation record from Bethany Patterson in honor of her mother Patricia, who survived what she shouldn't have had to survive and built a life anyway. Patricia called me 3 days later, crying. You didn't have to do that. Credit her name. Yes, I did. She's part of this story too, part of this legacy. Just because she's choosing distance doesn't mean she should be erased. She might not appreciate it. Maybe not. But it's true anyway. More silent. Thank you, Patricia finally said, for seeing her as a person instead of just a problem to solve. She's always been a person. We just forgot to treat her like one. 2 years after the will reading, Mom hosted Thanksgiving dinner. It was small, just her and Dad, Patricia and her new girlfriend, me. Bethany sent a card. A simple, happy Thanksgiving with a photo of her and a dog on a mountain trail. No note, just the photo. Mom put it on the mantle anyway. Do you think she'll ever come back? She asked, looking at the photo. I don't know. Does it matter? Of course it matters. She's family. Family that hurt her. Family that failed her. Maybe she's better off building something new. Or maybe she's running from something she needs to face. Maybe both are true. We ate dinner, told stories, carefully avoided talking about Frank or Grandma Rose or the years of secrets that had poisoned everything. Instead, we talked about the future, about the foundation, about Patricia's girlfriend who taught pottery, about my promotion at the hospital, about Dad's retirement plans. We talked about hope, about healing, about the possibility that broken things could become something different, not fixed, not perfect, but functional, maybe even beautiful in a strange, complicated way. After dinner, Patricia pulled me aside. I've been working on something, she said, a memoir about what happened, about Frank and Rose and surviving 40 years of silence. Are you going to publish it? I don't know, maybe, or maybe I just need to write it for myself, to get it out, to stop carrying it alone. What does your therapist say? That writing can be therapeutic, that telling your story on your own terms is powerful, that I should do whatever feels right. And what feels right? She thought about that. Honesty. Finally, after all these years, just brutal, uncomfortable honesty. Then write it. Publish it if you want. Tell the world what Frank did and what Rose allowed. Let other people benefit from your experience. Even if it destroys the family reputation, the family reputation was built on lies. Let it burn. She smiled. Actually smiled. You sound like Bethany. Maybe Bethany had the right idea all along. Maybe burning it down and starting over was always the answer. 3 years after the will reading, I got another letter, this time with a return address in Denver. I read Patricia's book, Bethany wrote. She sent me an advance copy, asked permission to include details about me. I said yes, not because I forgive her, but because other people need to hear these stories. Need to know they're not alone in growing up with trauma they didn't ask for. The book launches next month. I'm flying in for the release party. First time back since I left. I'm terrified and angry and curious what it'll feel like to see everyone again. I don't want a big reunion. Don't want tearful apologies or forced forgiveness. But maybe we could get coffee? Just you and me? Talk about normal things for once? B, I replied immediately. Coffee sounds perfect. I'll bring photos of the foundation work. You should see what your donations helped build. I'm proud of you for coming back, even if it's just for a few days. That takes courage. R. The release party was held at a small bookstore downtown. Patricia read excerpts to a packed room. Her voice shook at first, then grew stronger. She read about Frank, about the abuse, about Rose's complicity, about 40 years of carrying shame that wasn't hers to carry. When she finished, the room was silent. Then someone started clapping. Others joined in. Soon the entire room was on its feet, applauding. Bethany stood in the back. I watched her face as she listened to her mother's story, to their story, saw the emotions flicker across her features. Anger, sadness, recognition, understanding. After the reading, people swarmed Patricia. thanked her for her bravery, shared their own stories of survival. Bethany waited until the crowd thinned, then she approached. "Hi, Mom," she said. "Hi, Bethany," Patricia replied. They stood facing each other, not hugging, not quite smiling, but present, together in the same space for the first time in years. "The book is good," Bethany said. "Hard to read, but good. Thank you. I wasn't sure how you'd feel about me including you. I'm glad you did. Glad you told the truth, all of it. Even the parts about me failing you, especially those parts. They're the most important ones." Patricia's eyes filled with tears. "I'm still sorry for everything. I know, I'm still angry, but I'm working on it. That's all I can ask." They stood there a moment longer. Then Bethany turned and walked away, not running this time, just leaving at her own pace, on her own terms. I followed her outside. "That was big," I said, talking to her. "Yeah, harder than I thought it would be. Easier in some ways, too. Want to get that coffee now?" "Actually, I'm meeting someone. My girlfriend. She flew in with me." "You have a girlfriend?" "For 6 months now. She's amazing. Knows my whole messed up history and loves me anyway. I'd like to meet her sometime. Maybe tomorrow, before we fly back. I'm only here for 3 days, but we could do brunch? I'd like that." She smiled, really smiled, for the first time in as long as I could remember. "Thanks for everything," she said. "For the money, for the foundation, for not giving up on me even when I gave up on myself. Your family. Complicated, messy, traumatized family. But family. I'm learning that family can mean different things. That you can love people and still need distance. That biology doesn't trump boundaries. Smart woman. I have a good therapist. And a patient girlfriend. And apparently a mother who wrote a best-selling memoir about surviving incest." We both laughed. Dark humor, but humor nonetheless. "I should go," Bethany said. "My girlfriend's waiting. But tomorrow, 11 a.m., that brunch place on 5th, I'll be there." She walked away. Got into a car where a woman with kind eyes waited. They drove off together into the Denver night. I stood there for a moment, watching the taillights disappear. Then I went back inside. Patricia was signing books. Mom stood beside her, helping organize the line. They looked happy, not perfect, not healed, but happy in a genuine way that came from finally telling the truth. "How's Bethany?" Patricia asked when the line thinned. "Good. Really good, actually. She has a girlfriend. They're flying back to Colorado tomorrow, but we're doing brunch. She told me about her, Sierra. Apparently, she works in wildlife conservation." Bethany sounds happy when she talks about her. She does seem happy. Happier than I've seen her since we were kids. "Distance was good for her," Patricia said. "Giving her space to grow without us was the right choice, even though it meant losing her. I lost her the day she was born. The day I looked at her and saw Frank instead of myself. At least now she has a chance to find herself without carrying my trauma." Mom joined us. "Beautiful reading tonight. I'm proud of you." "It was terrifying," Patricia admitted, sharing all of that. "Knowing people are reading about the worst moments of my life." "It was brave," Mom corrected. "You're giving voice to people who've been silenced. That matters." "I hope so. I hope someone reads this and realizes they're not alone, that they're not broken beyond repair." "They'll read it," I assured her. "And it will help. I've seen it already with the foundation. People are desperate for permission to be honest about family trauma. Your book gives them that permission." Patricia nodded, wiping tears. "Then it was worth it. All the years of therapy and painful writing and reliving the worst moments. If it helps even one person, it was worth it." We stayed until the bookstore closed, then walked to a nearby restaurant for a late dinner. The 3 of us. 3 generations of Patterson women, learning to be honest with each other, learning to build something new from the ruins of what came before. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't pretty, but it was real. And real was enough. 5 years after the will reading, I attended Bethany's wedding. She married Sierra in a small ceremony in Aspen. Mountains all around, snow-capped peaks and clear blue sky. The guest list was small, 20 people. Bethany's friends from Colorado, Sierra's family, and me. Patricia wasn't invited, neither was Mom. "I'm not ready for that," Bethany had explained when she sent the invitation. "I love them. I'm working toward forgiveness. But I'm not ready to have them at my wedding. This day needs to be about me and Sierra, about our future, not about family trauma." I understood. So did Patricia and Mom when I told them. "She's protecting her joy," Patricia said. "That's healthy. Tell her we're happy for her," Mom added, "and that we love her even from a distance." So I stood in a Colorado chapel and watched Bethany marry the love of her life. Watched her smile so bright it could power cities. Watched her dance with Sierra under string lights while snow fell softly outside. At the reception, she pulled me aside. "Thank you for coming, for being here. Wouldn't miss it. You look happy." I am happy. Genuinely, completely happy. For the first time in my life, I'm not performing happiness. I'm living it. Sierra seems wonderful. She is. She knows everything. About Frank, about Patricia, about me stealing from Grandma, about all of it. And she loves me anyway. Not despite my history, but including it. She says my past is part of what makes me who I am. She's not wrong. "I'm writing a book too," Bethany said suddenly, "about growing up as the child of an incest survivor. About how trauma echoes through generations even when you don't know the truth. About finding yourself when your entire identity was built on lies." That's brave. Patricia inspired me. Her book helped me realize that telling the story is powerful, that other people need to hear these experiences. When's it coming out? Next year, I'm working with Patricia's publisher. We're actually talking about doing some joint events. Mother-daughter talks about generational trauma. Weird, right? Weird but beautiful. Yeah, weird but beautiful. That's basically our family motto at this point. She laughed. I laughed. The weight of years of pain felt a little lighter. "I'm glad you found this," I said, gesturing to the reception. To Sierra, to the life she'd built. "You deserve every bit of happiness." We all do. Even Patricia. Even Mom. Even Grandma, may she rest in her complicated legacy. Grandma would probably hate that we're all thriving despite her secrets. Good. Let her ghost be annoyed. We're done living for dead people's comfort. We hugged. She went back to her wife. I watched them dance. Later, I video called Mom and Patricia. Showed them the ceremony photos. They cried happy tears. Tell her we're proud, Patricia said. Tell her I love her. Even if I wasn't there, I love her. She knows, I assured her. She's working toward a place where she can tell you herself. Give her time. I've got nothing but time, Patricia replied. And hope. Finally, after all these years, I have hope. 10 years after the will reading, Patricia died. It was sudden. A stroke. She went peacefully, her girlfriend by her side. The funeral was small. Mom organized it. I helped. We debated whether to call Bethany. She has the right to know, Mom said. She also has the right to stay away, I countered. She's built a life separate from all of this. Calling her back might feel like an obligation she doesn't want. She deserves the choice. So, we called. Bethany listened in silence as I explained. Patricia was gone. The funeral was Thursday. No pressure to attend. I'll be there, she said quietly. I'll be there. She flew in with Sierra. They stayed at my apartment. Bethany was quiet, processing. The morning of the funeral, she knocked on my door at 5 a.m. Can't sleep, she said. Can we talk? We sat in my living room with coffee as the sun rose. I never got to tell her, Bethany said, that I understood, that I didn't blame her anymore, that I'd forgiven her. She knew. The work you did together on the books, the conversations you'd been having, she knew. But I never said the words. I forgive you. I was waiting for the perfect moment, the right time, and now there's no time left. Forgiveness isn't always spoken. Sometimes it's lived. You showed her forgiveness by working with her, by including her in your life again, by letting her be part of your story instead of erasing her. I wanted her at the wedding. I was planning to invite her to the next one. Sierra and I are renewing our vows next year for our 5-year anniversary. I was going to make it a whole thing. Patricia and Mom both there. A real family moment. She would have loved that. But she'll never know. She died thinking I couldn't forgive her. She died knowing you were trying. That's more than she gave herself permission to hope for. Bethany cried. I held her. Sierra joined us, wrapping us both in her arms. Family is so complicated, Bethany said through tears. I spent 30 years hating her, 5 years learning to understand her, and just when I was ready to fully love her, she's gone. That's life, Sierra said softly. We don't get to choose the timing. We just get to choose how we respond. The funeral was beautiful. Mom gave the eulogy, talked about Patricia's courage, her survival, her decision to finally tell the truth after 40 years of silence. My sister, Mom said, and the word finally felt right. My sister was a survivor. She lived through things that would have destroyed most people. And she not only survived, she thrived. She wrote a best-selling book. She helped countless victims find their voice. She learned to love again. She built a good life from terrible circumstances. She paused, looked at Bethany in the front row, and she gave us the gift of her daughter, who's gone on to do remarkable things, to write her own book, to build her own family, to break the cycle of trauma that could have destroyed her. Patricia's legacy isn't just survival, it's transformation. After the service, we gathered at Mom's house. Small reception, people sharing memories. Bethany stood in the backyard staring at nothing. I joined her. You okay? No, but I will be. What are you thinking about? About how much time we wasted. About how different things could have been if Grandma had just told the truth from the beginning. If Frank had faced consequences. If Patricia had gotten help sooner. You can't rewrite the past. I know, but I can learn from it. Make sure my kids, if Sierra and I decide to have kids, never grow up with secrets eating them alive. Make sure they know honesty is more important than image. That truth is more valuable than comfort. You'll be a good mother. I'll try to be. That's all anyone can do. We stood in silence, watching the sunset. Thank you, Bethany said suddenly. For what? For being honest with me. 3 years ago, when you showed me those birth certificates and paternity tests, you could have protected me from the truth. Let me stay ignorant. But you didn't. You trusted me with the hard stuff. And it sucked. God, it sucked. But it also freed me. Grandma wanted the truth out. Yeah, well, Grandma was a complicated woman who made terrible choices for understandable reasons. But in the end, she did one thing right. She made sure we all knew. Made sure the lies died with her. She'd probably be pissed that we turned her secrets into a foundation and 2 best-selling books. Bethany laughed. Good. Let her ghost be pissed. We're done protecting dead people's reputations. 15 years after the will reading, Mom died. Natural causes. She was 75, surrounded by family. I held her hand as she passed. Dad on one side, Bethany on the other. Thank you, Mom whispered at the end, for forcing the truth out, for making us face it, for not letting Frank and Rose's lies destroy another generation. Rest easy, I told her. We've got this now. She smiled, closed her eyes, and went peacefully. The funeral was huge. Mom had touched a lot of lives. The foundation, the therapy groups, the advocacy work. Bethany gave the eulogy this time. My aunt, she said. Caroline Patterson was many things. A mother, a wife, an advocate, a survivor of a different kind than Patricia. She survived the trauma of learning that her father was a monster, that her family was built on lies, that her niece was actually her half-sister. She could have crumbled, could have denied it, could have blamed Patricia or me or anyone else. She paused, looked at me. Instead, she chose truth, chose healing, chose to build something better from the ashes of what came before. She helped create the Rose Patterson Foundation for Complicated Truths. She co-authored a book about surviving family secrets. She spent 15 years making sure other people didn't have to suffer in silence the way her family did. Her voice caught. She wasn't perfect, none of us are, but she was brave and honest and determined to break cycles that had poisoned our family for generations. That's her legacy. Not the pain she endured, but the healing she chose. That's what I'll remember. That's what I hope we all remember. After the funeral, Bethany and I sat on Mom's porch. The house Dad lived in now. The house that would eventually be sold. The last physical connection to our shared history. We're the only ones left, Bethany said. Of the whole mess. Just you and me. And Dad. Dad's great. But he wasn't in the eye of the storm. Not like us. True. What happens now? Do we stay in touch? Or do we drift apart like everyone else in this family did? What do you want to happen? She thought about that. I want to keep building. Keep being honest. Keep breaking the cycles. I want my kids, we decided, Sierra and I are adopting, to know their family history. All of it. The good and the terrible. So they understand where they come from. That's brave. It's necessary. No more secrets. No more lies. No more protecting people from uncomfortable truths. Grandma would hate that. Grandma's dead. This isn't about her anymore. It's about us. About doing better. We sat in silence as the sun set. I'm glad you told me, Bethany said finally. 3 years ago, even though it destroyed me. Even though I ran away. Even though it took years to process. I'm glad I know the truth. Me too. Do you think we're broken, fundamentally? Because of what Frank did? Because of the lies? I think we're scarred. But scars are evidence of survival, of healing. We're not broken. We're different than we would have been. But maybe that's okay. Maybe that's more than okay. Maybe that's actually better. How do you figure? Because we know things most people don't. We understand that families are complicated, that love isn't simple, that truth matters more than comfort. That's valuable knowledge. Hard-won knowledge. You sound like Sierra. Sierra's very wise. I married well. We laughed. The kind of laugh that comes after years of crying. After pain transforms into something that isn't quite joy but isn't suffering either. Something new, something honest, something that might even be called hope. 20 years after the will reading, I stood in the same law office where this all began. Different lawyer, different purpose, but same room. I'd called Bethany, asked her to come, told her it was important. She flew in from Denver, still living there, still happy. 2 kids now, adopted siblings from foster care, both thriving. What's this about? She asked as we waited. You'll see. The lawyer entered. Young woman, professional, kind eyes. Thank you for coming, she said. I'm handling your grandmother Rose Patterson's trust. There's a time release clause that activates 20 years after her death. What kind of clause? Bethany asked. The lawyer pulled out a sealed envelope, Grandma's handwriting on the front. To be opened 20 years after my passing. To be shared with my granddaughters only after they've had time to process the truth. After they've built lives separate from the lies. After they've proven they can survive knowledge that would have destroyed me. She handed me the envelope. I opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a letter and another key. My dear girls, if you're reading this, 20 years have passed. I'm long dead. You've had time to hate me, to understand me, maybe even to forgive me, though I don't deserve it. The key is to another safety deposit box, one I set up separate from everything else. Inside, you'll find money, a lot of it. Investments I made starting in 1985, earmarked specifically for you two. Money Frank never knew about. Money I made with what he gave Patricia as guilt payments. Money that's grown over 40 years into something substantial. It's yours, both of yours. Equal shares. Not inheritance, not guilt money, payment for what you endured because of my cowardice. Because I chose silence over truth. Because I let Frank's actions poison your childhoods. Use it however you want. Fund the foundation. Start new projects. Burn it all and never think of me again. Whatever helps you heal. I loved you both, even when I didn't show it. Even when I made terrible choices. Even when I prioritized the wrong things. I loved you and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Break the cycles. Tell the truth. Build something better. You've already started. Keep going. With love and regret. Rose. The lawyer cleared her throat. The amount in the account is $3.7 million, split between you, plus another $1 million designated specifically for the Rose Patterson Foundation. Bethany and I stared at each other. She was saving for us? Bethany whispered. For 40 years. Apparently, I said. After everything she did, everything she hid, she was still trying to make it right? In her own complicated way? Yes. Bethany laughed. A sound caught between humor and hysteria. This family. God, this family. We could refuse it, I suggested. Tell them to donate everything to charity. No. Bethany's voice was firm. No, we take it. We use it. We build something amazing with it. We prove that good things can come from terrible origins. That healing is possible even when the wound goes generations deep. What did you have in mind? Expand the foundation. Add programs for children of abuse survivors. For people learning to parent after trauma. For families trying to rebuild after secrets destroy them. We create something that would make Grandma proud and piss her off simultaneously. Something honest and messy and real. I smiled. I like that plan. We spent the next hour with the lawyer, signing papers, making arrangements. Walking out of that office with resources to change lives. To break cycles, to turn family trauma into family healing. Outside, the sun was setting. 20 years of processing, 20 years of growth, 20 years of learning to be honest. Want to get dinner? Bethany asked. Celebrate our dead grandmother's complicated attempt at redemption? Absolutely. And afterward, we start planning. Figure out how to use this money to help people. To make sure no more children grow up like we did. Deal. We walked down the street together. Cousins, half-sisters, survivors, friends. 2 women who'd survived 40 years of family lies and came out the other side determined to tell the truth. 2 women who'd taken pain and trauma and transformed it into purpose. 2 women who'd proven that sometimes the best revenge is simply living well, honestly, fully. That night, we called our families. Bethany's wife and kids, my partner, Dad. We got a surprise inheritance from Grandma, we told them. Time released, 20 years after her death. How much? Dad asked. Enough to change lives, I said. Enough to prove that even complicated, cowardly people can sometimes do one good thing, Bethany added. What will you do with it? Build something better, something honest, something that makes sure the cycles we broke stay broken. Your grandmother would be proud, Dad said. Our grandmother would be conflicted, Bethany corrected. And that's okay. We're done seeking approval from dead people. We're building this for the living. 25 years after the will reading, the Rose Patterson Foundation for Complicated Truths had helped over 10,000 families. We'd expanded to 15 states, offered therapy, legal support, housing assistance, job training, whatever people needed to break free from cycles of abuse and secrecy. Bethany ran the family programs. I managed the overall operations. Together, we'd turned our family trauma into our life's work. One day, a young woman walked into our office, 22 years old, nervous, holding a baby. I need help, she said. My grandfather. I don't even know how to say it. Take your time, Bethany said gently. Whatever you need to tell us. We've heard it before. The woman took a breath, told her story, history repeating, trauma echoing through generations. By the end, she was crying. I don't know what to do. I can't go to my family. They won't believe me. They'll protect him like they always do. We believe you, I said, and we're going to help you. We spent the next hour connecting her with resources, legal aid, therapy, safe housing, childcare support, everything she needed to break free. As she left, she turned back. Why are you doing this? Why do you care so much? Bethany and I looked at each other. Because it happened to our family too, Bethany said, and no one helped. No one believed. No one intervened. We don't want anyone else to go through what we did. The woman nodded. Thank you. Thank you for understanding, for caring, for being here. After she left, Bethany sat at her desk, staring at the wall. You okay? I asked. Yeah, just thinking about how different my life could have been if someone had helped Patricia, if someone had believed her, if she'd had resources and support instead of silence and shame. We can't change the past. No, but we can change the present, and maybe the future. One person at a time. That's what we're doing. I know, and it matters. Every single person we help, it matters. They're not just statistics. They're real people with real trauma, trying to break real cycles. Like we did. Like we're still doing. Yeah, like we're still doing. We sat in silence for a moment, then Bethany smiled. You know what? I think Grandma would actually be proud. Not of the honesty part. She'd hate that. But of the helping people part. She'd approve of that. Maybe. In her complicated way. Everything about our family is complicated, but I think we're finally making it beautiful too. Complicated and beautiful. That's not a bad legacy. It's a hell of a lot better than secrets and lies. Amen to that. 30 years after the will reading, I'm old, 65, retired from nursing, still running the foundation part-time. Bethany's 64, still writing, still helping people, still married to Sierra, surrounded by grandchildren now. We meet monthly for coffee. Same coffee shop where I first told her the truth 3 decades ago. Do you ever regret it? She asks one day. Telling me? Opening that Pandora's box? Never. Do you regret knowing? Some days. The hard days when I think about what my life could have been if I didn't know. If I'd stayed ignorant and angry but protected from the full truth. And most days I'm grateful. Because knowing freed me. Let me understand why things were the way they were. Let me stop blaming myself for my mother's coldness. Let me build a life based on truth instead of lies. That was the point. That's what Grandma wanted, even if she did it badly. She did everything badly, but her heart was in the right place. Kind of. Eventually. We laugh. It's become our thing. Laughing at the absurdity of our family history. Finding humor in the darkness. Your kids asked me about Grandma Rose yesterday, Bethany says. The oldest one. Doing a family tree project. She wanted to know if Grandma was a good person or a bad person. What did you tell her? That she was a complicated person who made terrible choices for understandable reasons. That she caused harm but also tried to make amends. That people aren't just good or bad. They're both. They're human. Smart answer. I'm a smart woman, with a good therapist. And decades of processing trauma. Speaking of which, I got a call last week. A producer wants to make a documentary about the foundation. About our family story. About how we turned trauma into purpose. Are we doing it? I don't know. What do you think? Bethany considers. I think if it helps more people, we do it. If it's just exploitation, we don't. We tell the producer to focus on the work, the people we've helped, the cycles we've broken, not just the drama of grandfather-father incest. Agreed. But we do it honestly. We don't sugarcoat. We don't make Grandma a hero or Frank a cartoon villain. We tell the messy truth, the complicated, uncomfortable, real truth. The Rose Patterson Foundation for Complicated Truths strikes again. Damn right. We sit in comfortable silence, watching people come and go, living their lives, most of them carrying secrets they haven't told anyone, most of them nursing wounds they've never named. I hope we've helped, Bethany says quietly. I hope somewhere out there families are being honest with each other because we were honest first. I hope kids are growing up without the weight of secrets we carried. I hope we've actually made a difference. We have 10,000 families, hundreds of thousands of individuals. We've made a difference. Good. Then it was all worth it. The pain, the trauma, the years of anger and confusion. If it led to this, to helping people, then it was worth it. Would you do it differently? If you could go back? Not a chance. I'd live it all exactly the same, because it made me who I am, and I kind of like who I am now. Me too. I like who you are too. Sentimental. Not like you. I'm old. I'm allowed to be sentimental. Fair enough. We finish our coffee, hug goodbye, promise to do this again next month. As I drive home, I think about Grandma Rose, about her final letter, about how she set everything in motion with those cameras and that safety deposit box and that time-release trust. About how even cowardly people can do brave things, even damaged people can create healing, even families built on lies can transform into families built on truth. I think about Grandpa Frank, about how one person's actions can poison generations, about how important it is to confront evil, even when it wears a familiar face. I think about Patricia, about her courage to finally speak, about her book that helped thousands, about her life that proved survival is possible. I think about Mom, about her choice to believe Patricia, to process impossible information, to build something better instead of defending something broken. I think about Bethany, about her journey from angry theft to purposeful healing, about how she turned her pain into power, how she broke every cycle that tried to break her. And I think about me, about my Tuesday night visits, about the key that unlocked 40 years of secrets, about the choice to tell the truth even when it would have been easier to lie. We did it. Despite everything, despite Frank and Rose and generations of silence, we did it. We told the truth. We broke the cycles. We built something better. And that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything.